My best friend confessed his feelings to me. I rejected him because I already had a crush on someone else. In response, he became hostile, spitefully speaking of both me and the guy I liked. Unable to bear the criticism, the boy I liked abandoned me. Ever since we were kids, Jake and I had been inseparable. We met in elementary school, bonded over our mutual dislike for the cafeteria's mystery meat, and from there, a friendship blossomed that seemed unbreakable. We shared secrets, homework answers, and countless inside jokes. As we entered high school, our worlds grew larger, but our bond remained solid, or so I thought. Jake was the kind of friend everyone wished they had. He was reliable, funny, and always there when you needed him. So, when he asked me to meet up at our favorite local diner one chilly evening in October, I didn't think much of it. It was our go-to spot for celebrating good grades, nursing broken hearts, and plotting future adventures. That night, I figured he wanted to talk about his latest video game obsession or maybe vent about his parents, who were on his case again about college applications. But as I slid into the booth across from him, something felt off. Jake was nervous, fidgeting with the napkin dispenser, avoiding eye contact. I teased him, asking if he'd finally decided to confess his undying love for Mrs. Peterson, our eccentric but endearing English teacher. He gave a half-hearted chuckle but quickly grew serious again. The casual chit-chat felt heavier as we danced around the usual topics. Finally, Jake blurted out that he needed to tell me something important. I leaned in, expecting another one of his grand plans for a summer road trip, or maybe a complaint about his younger sister. What he said next, though, left me speechless. Jake confessed that he had feelings for me. Not just the kind of fleeting crushes we'd laughed about over the years, but real, deep feelings. He'd been holding on to them for a while, he said, afraid of what admitting them might do to our friendship. I sat there, my heart pounding, my mind racing. This was Jake, my best friend since the 3rd grade. The thought of him seeing me in that way had never crossed my mind. Sure, I cared about him deeply, but only as a friend. And there was another reason I couldn't return his feelings. I had a crush on someone else, a guy from my art class named Tyler, who was 20 and had the most amazing talent for photography. Rejecting Jake was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I tried to let him down gently, explaining my feelings for Tyler and how I didn't want to ruin the special friendship Jake and I shared. But as the words left my mouth, I saw the hurt flash across his face, quickly masked by a forced smile and a shrug. We left the diner that night with a promise to remain friends, but the air between us had shifted. I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change, and not for the better. Little did I know, that conversation would be the turning point, marking the end of our friendship as we knew it. In the days following Jake's confession and my subsequent rejection, I noticed a subtle but unmistakable shift in our dynamic. At first, Jake tried to act like nothing had changed, keeping up his usual banter and meeting me for our routine hangouts. However, the effortless ease that once defined our friendship was replaced by a tense undercurrent of awkwardness that neither of us could ignore. I threw myself into my art class, finding solace in my sketches and the company of Tyler, whose presence became increasingly comforting. Tyler, with his quiet confidence and shared love for the arts, was a stark contrast to the complicated situation with Jake. As my feelings for Tyler grew, so did my guilt over Jake. I was caught between the burgeoning possibility of something new, and the deterioration of something once solid. Meanwhile, Jake's hurt began to manifest in ways I hadn't anticipated. It started with small digs, veiled as jokes, about Tyler's age and his artistic ambitions. I tried to brush them off, attributing them to Jake's struggle to adjust to our new normal. But as the weeks passed, his comments grew more pointed, and I learned from mutual friends that Jake was spreading rumors about Tyler and me. He painted me as someone who led him on, only to discard him for someone else. The tipping point came when I confronted Jake about the rumors. He denied everything at first, but as I pressed, insisting that our friends wouldn't lie about such things, he exploded. He accused me of being insensitive to his feelings, of not considering how hard it was for him to see me with Tyler. The conversation ended in a heated argument, with both of us saying things we couldn't take back. Jake stormed off, leaving me standing alone, feeling a mix of anger, sadness, and an overwhelming sense of loss. In the aftermath, our friendship group became polarized. Some sided with Jake, believing I had been unfair to him, while others stood by me, upset by how he was handling his hurt. The division made social gatherings awkward, and I found myself withdrawing, spending more time with Tyler and less with the group I had grown up with. Tyler, for his part, was supportive but understandably frustrated by the drama. He hadn't signed up for a high school feud, and the tension began to affect our budding relationship. I found myself defending him constantly, trying to dispel the lies Jake had spread, all while navigating my own tangled emotions. The strain was palpable, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was to blame for the unraveling of my once unbreakable bond with Jake. As the weeks turned into months, the situation didn't improve. Jake's behavior became more erratic, his hostility more pronounced. Attempts at reconciliation fell flat, with Jake shutting down any effort I made to mend our friendship. It was as if the rejection had flipped a switch in him, turning the once kind-hearted and loyal friend into someone I hardly recognized. Caught in this storm of emotions and conflict, I struggled to find my footing. My grades began to suffer, my artwork lost its joy, and the shadow of my fractured friendship with Jake loomed large over everything. The realization that I might never get my friend back was a bitter pill to swallow, compounded by the fear of losing Tyler too, to the chaos Jake had created. In the heart of the turmoil, a rumor that Jake had started about me being a two-timer, an insinuation that I was leading multiple guys on, was the final straw. The phrase, so juvenile yet laden with judgment, spread through our circle with surprising speed, tainting the image I had worked so hard to maintain as someone straightforward and sincere in my dealings. Confronting Jake about this particular rumor was harder than anything I'd faced before. The air between us crackled with tension as I approached him, my heart hammering against my ribcage, anger and hurt battling for dominance. The accusation was not just a blow to my reputation, it felt like a direct attack on my character, and from someone who had known me better than anyone else. "Jake, we need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the storm of emotions brewing inside me. He looked at me, the flicker of defiance in his eyes quickly masked by a semblance of indifference. "About what?" he asked, though the guilty shift in his gaze told me he knew exactly what the issue was. "About what you've been saying, about me being a fisherman." I spat the word out like it was poison. "You know that's not true. You know me." For a moment, there was a flash of the old Jake, the one who would have never entertained the thought of hurting me, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared, replaced by a cold, hard mask. "Maybe I thought I did," he said, his voice laced with bitterness. "But I guess people change, or maybe they just reveal who they really are." The conversation spiraled from there, voices raised, words we could never take back hurled like weapons. The hurt from his rejection, the frustration with my feelings for Tyler, and the pain of watching our friendship disintegrate exploded into a cacophony of anger and betrayal. In the end, there were no winners, just two people standing amidst the wreckage of a friendship that had once meant everything. As the days passed and the storm of rumors refused to calm, Tyler and I found ourselves increasingly caught in the eye of public scrutiny. Despite our efforts to ignore the whispers and stares, the weight of public opinion began to take its toll. Tyler, who had always moved through life with a certain ease, found himself ill-equipped to handle the constant barrage of judgment and speculation. One evening, as we sat in the dim light of my small studio apartment, surrounded by my latest artworks, the tension that had been building between us finally reached its breaking point. Tyler, his usually calm demeanor frayed at the edges, voiced the fear and frustration that had been brewing in silence. "I can't do this anymore," he said, his voice barely above a whisper but carrying the weight of a final verdict. "It's not just about us anymore, it's about this circus around us. I thought I could handle it, but I can't." I tried to reach out to him, to bridge the gap that had suddenly yawned wide open between us, but my words felt hollow even to my own ears. The rumors, Jake's spiteful campaign, had poisoned what was pure and beautiful between us, turning it into something fraught and fragile. "It's not true, any of it. You know me, Tyler. You know who I am," I pleaded, desperation threading through my voice. But doubt, once planted, is a difficult thing to eradicate. Tyler looked at me, and in his eyes, I saw the struggle, the desire to believe, battling the weariness of constant defense. "I know," he said, and in those two words was a world of sorrow. "But knowing isn't enough. It's like we're fighting ghosts. Your past, the rumors, the looks. I'm tired, and I just can't." With that, he stood up, and with every step he took away from me, the future I had envisioned with him crumbled into dust. I watched him leave, a part of me screaming to run after him, to fight for us, but another part, exhausted and resigned, held me back. In the aftermath of Tyler's departure, I found myself adrift. The art that had once been my refuge now echoed the emptiness I felt inside. The canvas remained blank, mirroring the void where inspiration used to flourish. I had lost Jake, my best friend, because of a truth I had stood by, and now I had lost Tyler, the one I loved, to lies I had no control over. The journey from that point was slow and solitary. I learned to find solace in the silence, to appreciate the solitude that allowed me to reflect and heal. My art evolved, no longer just an escape but a way to process and to express the myriad emotions that the ordeal had stirred within me. As the final chapter of this turbulent period of my life came to a close, I found myself alone, grappling with a pain so profound it threatened to consume me entirely. Tyler's departure had left a void in my life that seemed insurmountable, a constant reminder of the cost of truth and the destructive power of rumors. The absence of his presence, once a source of joy and inspiration, now felt like a wound that refused to heal. The studio apartment, once filled with laughter and the promise of shared dreams, echoed with the silence of loss. My art, a reflection of my inner turmoil, became darker, the strokes on the canvas more frantic, as if trying to exorcise the demons of betrayal and abandonment. In the depths of my despair I reached out, seeking solace in the shared wisdom of others who had navigated the treacherous waters of heartbreak and emerged on the other side. I poured my heart out on forums, in letters to unseen friends, and in late-night conversations with anyone who would listen. The question that burned within me was simple yet profound. How do you move forward when the past clings to you like a shadow? And so, I stand at the crossroads of my own making, drowning in a pain that is both a burden and a teacher. I reach out to you, to anyone who has felt the sting of betrayal, the ache of lost love, and the weight of a world turned upside down. How did you find your way back to the surface? How did you learn to breathe again, to find joy in the sunrise, to see beauty in the broken? Finally, I want to extend my sincerest thanks to all of you who have taken the time to share your stories on Reddit. Please continue to journey with us, share your experiences, and together, let's create memorable moments. Turmoil became darker, the strokes on the canvas more frantic, as if trying to exorcise the demons of betrayal and abandonment. In the depths of my despair I reached out, seeking solace in the shared wisdom of others who had navigated the treacherous waters of heartbreak and emerged on the other side. I poured my heart out on forums, in letters to unseen friends, and in late-night conversations with anyone who would listen. The question that burned within me was simple yet profound. How do you move forward when the past clings to you like a shadow? And so, I stand at the crossroads of my own making, drowning in a pain that is both a burden and a teacher. I reach out to you, to anyone who has felt the sting of betrayal, the ache of lost love, and the weight of a world turned upside down. How did you find your way back to the surface? How did you learn to breathe again, to find joy in the sunrise, to see beauty in the broken? Finally, I want to extend my sincerest thanks to all of you who have taken the time to share your stories on Reddit. Please continue to journey with us, share your experiences, and together, let's create memorable moments.